with COMSC 122, the course is rapidly coming to an end. We've been through the semester. As you can see, there's so this is this class. There's only the lecture today and one more lecture, and that's it. Next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to do on these 2 days, but I won't be adding any new material to be on your final exam or anything. And then comes the final exam. So I'm probably just going to demonstrate a few more of these word problems is what I'll do on Tuesday. 12.2 and 12.9, I'll just answer questions from students if anybody has anything. We've covered enough. So let's take a look at chapter 15 and 16, which are pretty short and relatively advanced features of Python. These are classes and methods and classes and objects. Real object-oriented programming here. So, I'll run it anyway. All right, so these are object-oriented programs, and the idea is you have these objects are things that resemble things in the real world. So before we defined a class named time and wrote a function called print time that would take a time object and pull out the hour, minute, and second and print them out. And the way they actually defined that last time was we just define this class called time, and then we make a time object and just assign something to time hour. So it sort of indirectly imply that from now on, times are going to have an hour component. And that struck me as pretty strange, although it's consistent with Python's implicit definition, where you can set I equals 1, and it will say, oh, well, I guess it's an integer. Or you can set I equals 1.2, and it'll say, oh, I guess it's floating point. But what's a lot more sensible, especially to an old-fashioned programmer like me from structured programming, I liked languages like C, where you have to define your variables first before you use them. You have to tell the computer what they are. So you can do that. All you do is you indent this definition of the method. So now you define a class of time, and now you define this function as part of that class. And it's going to operate on time objects, so you put the word self here. So this is going to define a class time, and this is going to be a method attached to the class. So every time object is going to have a method called print time, which will print it out hours, minutes, and seconds. This makes a lot more sense to me. This defines the object. Objects have attributes and methods. Attributes are the values they have, like hour, minute, and second, and methods are the functions that operate on them. So now you have to pass a time object to it, so we're going to define make time here. This is something that will make a time out of hour, minute, and second. And here's a time instance. So now I can call make time of 9:40 and 0, and that will make the time 9:40:00, and we can call print time. Now print time was defined up here inside the class, so there are two ways to do it. When you have this self here, you can use time.printtime and then put the object in there, and that's what you see here. That might be more obvious. What's more common is you don't specify the word time. That's implied. You put start.printtime, and then you have these empty parentheses. So this might make it a little more clear why you often see these empty parentheses at the end of something in Python, and you see this self up here. This is how you define something that's going to work on the object that this class, it's a method of. All right, anyway, so that's how you can print the time. All right. So there's another way to do it. You can do time to int from the previous chapter. You did it this way. You feed in a time. It'll just figure out how many total seconds there are. Here's the version rewritten as a method. Now, this is an interesting thing. Normally, if you wanted this to be part of time, you'd have to go back and add it here, which would be the more logical way to do it. For some reason, this Google Colab environment, which is called the Jupyter Notebook, lets you separate these two with this command here. These %% commands are not Python. They're Jupyter Network commands. So this is something that will add that code up to time as if it was in the previous block. I guess just a way to reorganize your code to make it sort of easier to talk about, which is the point of these Jupyter Notebooks. These Jupyter Notebooks differ from a Python development environment in that they let you write these comments and stuff. So it's just a way to sort of write sort of textbook chapters about your code. All right, so this is going to define time to int as part of it, and now I can do start, which is time we defined earlier, and time to integer, and that'll give us the number of seconds since the start of this day. All right, now you can have, here's a function that takes an integer to time. So you feed in the number of seconds since the start of the day, and it will turn that into a time. And again, we can add that inside the method, so that becomes just part of every time object here. And so this one does not have self as a parameter because you have to feed in a number of seconds. So since it doesn't have self as a parameter, it's what they call a static method. So you can only call it the first way, time into time. That's like a library member. You don't start it with an actual time object because it's not tied to a time object. So that's how it works. And now you can print that. All right. So now you can do add time. If you want to add two times together, there are a lot of ways to do it, but the simplest way to do it would be to turn them both into integers, so just a number of seconds, add the seconds together, and turn that back into a time. That way you'll handle all the rolling over as the number of seconds goes over 60 and the number of minutes goes over 60. So that's what this does. It's going to add two times. So you feed in a starting time, and then you feed in hours, minutes, and seconds, I guess. Yeah, they make a time. Yep. And so you take the first time and add this to it. It's actually a rather strange way to define the function, but this is the way we did it the last time. This time, we're going to do it with self, hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, fair enough. So you add immediate amount of time. So start is the implied first parameter, start, and here's the time to add to it, 1 hour and 32 minutes. All right. And you can see the 32 minutes rolled over. It was 40 minutes after 10. Now it's 12 minutes. It rolled over nicely. It didn't go up to 72 minutes or anything stupid. Now we want to be able to compare objects. Here's where it gets more interesting. We're going to override built-in Python functions. So we'd like to define two objects. Define is after time 1, time 2 in the first time. Determine whether the time to int t1 is greater than time to int t2. An easy enough thing to do. Here it is as a method. We're going to compare self to other. Other is an arbitrary name we put here, and it's just a way you're going to take two time objects. Although other is in a special, I don't think other is a keyword. I wonder if the AI will tell me anything interesting. Parameter other, parameter self. Anyway, so we're comparing two objects, and so this is the end is after start, and that'll tell you true or false. So that's kind of cute. Now I'd like to try something. I think this other is arbitrary. So what happens if I put a 1 here and a 1 here? I think it'll work just fine because that other is just a placeholder. Yeah, and that's true. That's what I thought. Self, I think, is not a placeholder. I think if I change this to self1 and self1, then it won't have the same meaning. Well, maybe not. Maybe self is also an arbitrary placeholder. It's the only thing I've ever seen there. I don't know if you can change it. But it looks like maybe I can change it. All right. And so, all right. And then this one's cute, the string method. If you can turn something into a string with str of object. And I've always wondered exactly how that works. And Python has some default way to turn things into strings, but you can make your own. And that's what this double underscore is referring to. If you double underscore before and after it, then you're defining a function which is not something a normal developer would use. It is overriding a built-in Python function. So this is going to override the string function. So it's going to turn it into hours, minutes, and seconds. And so now that you've defined it, you can now take an object and run it through the string function this way, which was nothing more than what we've done before. You have a name you made up and you refer to it here, but you can also do this, which would normally call the Python default string function, but you have now overloaded that function. You have replaced it with this custom string function. And this is important. This happens a lot in a lot of environments. And this is what rootkits do when they infect your machine. They overload the system calls with other calls. So when you run a directory of all the files on your disk, it calls the directory system call, but the rootkit has overridden it, so the directory no longer acts as intended, and it lies to you about what's on the disk. And this is what Frida does. Frida is an instrumenting platform for mobile devices. So you can inject it into an Android or iOS phone, and you can change the meaning of system calls by overloading them. So an app that you're running on the phone now does different things because the system calls it makes have unusual effects. So anyway, this overloading is really quite important. And so you can print an object, and that will turn it into a string in order to print it, and it'll now call our new modified string function to do it. Those are called special methods with two underscores at the start and the end. And another one is init, which I was waiting for. From what I learned about object-oriented programming long ago, you have to have a constructor to construct the objects, and that's what init does. You can write a custom initializer that will create a new object. So instead of whatever the default thing does, You define it, and here you can define it so that if you don't specify hour, minute, and second, it'll give default values of 0. So that's pretty cute. So now you can set time equals time. This is how you create a time object, and you can create it with those values. And so you don't have to go 2 steps where one you create it and then you assign values. And the parameters are optional. If you call it without parameters, you'll get 0, 0, 0. And if you provide one argument, it will override the hour, but the minutes and seconds will default to 0. So that's pretty cute. If you provide 2 arguments, it's going to be hour and minutes. All right. So then we can also overload other operators. Like we can overload add, and then you'll be able to use a plus to add times together. So we're going to define the add method. To add 2 times, you turn them both into integers, counts of seconds, add them together with normal integer addition, and then turn them back here. But we're going to define that as adding 2 times together. So now we can set duration is time of 132, and end is start plus duration. So we can now do it this way. We can use a plus sign to add 2 time objects because we have defined what addition means for them. All right, which is pretty cute. So that's nice to know. And that's all I wanted to say about that one. I don't see any comments. So I'm going to stop this one.